Rassie Rasmus and the Springboks have just announced their 23-man side to take on Australia this Saturday, and there are a couple of surprise selections in the starting 23. We've been asking for it, and now we've got it. If you haven't, please make sure you absolutely murder that subscribe button. Still about 82% of you that watch this channel on a regular basis are not subscribed, and helps this channel out more than you know. Leave your opinions down in the comments about what you think of this team, and as always, leave this video a like. Now let's jump straight into it. I mean, starting with our front three, we thought that this was going to be the exact front three that was going to start: Ox, Bongi, and France Malherbe. We know what we're going to get from them. Ox is going to scrum, France is going to scrum, and Bongi is going to be that dirty little operator, that physical guy up front, maybe steal a couple of balls if he can. We know he's good at the lineouts. We know that he's good at the scrum time. So very, very experienced front three, and I think that's exactly what we need, especially coming up against Australia, going down under where the Springboks haven't had much success in the past. I mean, we need to try and win this game. Australia have won 3 on the bounce. They're the most in-form international team in the moment if you look at wins and losses this year. So it's not going to be easy. We then move over into the lock position, and the whole conversation was, who are we going to pair with Feinberg-Mngomezulu? Is it going to be Archie Snyman? Is it going to be Salman Morat? Or is it going to be Rowan Nokia? I even saw some comments on yesterday's Instagram video saying that maybe Pieter-Steph du Toit should play 5 and you put Ben Jason Dixon at number 7. I thought that was a very, very interesting thought, but Rassie Rasmus has gone for Feinberg-Mngomezulu and Archie Snyman in that number 5 position. It's going to be very interesting to see how Archie goes starting. We know how impactful he can be off of the bench. Having 2 massive units, impact players like Feinberg-Mngomezulu and Archie Snyman starting up front, I think that's sending a clear message that the Springboks are coming to dominate physically. We're coming to really run hard at the Australians, win some line-out balls, and put some real pressure on them for when we bring on our bomb squad in that second half. Then the loose trio, we knew what we were going to get. Siya Kolisi at 6, Pieter-Steph du Toit at 7. And then there was that debate on, should it be Ulrich Loh or should it be Kwagga Smith in that number 8 position? We said in our lead up to this selection that if Evan Roos and Kwagga Smith were in the side, then Evan Roos would probably start. So it only makes sense that Rassie Rasmus starts Ulrich Loh. And I'm glad to see that Ulrich Loh is getting an opportunity. I thought he had a good test match against Portugal. And yes, it was against Portugal. Yes, he came on in the second half against the tired Portuguese pack. But let's see what he can do against Australia. He's got so much experience in that pack. I mean, so many World Cup winners in that pack with him. I like that Rassie Rasmus has gone and experimented with Ulrich Loh at number 8. If it works out, then all of a sudden we have another number 8 that we can choose on. Then we have Jasper Visser, Evan Roos, Pepsi Buthelezi, Ulrich Loh, just continuing to build that depth in the Springbok side leading into that 2027 Rugby World Cup. And then for Siya and Pieter-Steph, I mean, they're going to give us what they always give us. Siya looked pretty good in that Island series. Pieter-Steph is one of the best rugby players on the face of the planet. So it's going to be interesting to see where Pieter-Steph slots in when the bomb squad comes on. Is he going to stay at 7? Is he going to go into that lock position? We're going to get into all of that because Rassie Rasmus hasn't played an out-and-out lock on the bench. He hasn't played Salman Morat or Rowan Nokia. So my thinking is that Pieter-Steph will probably move to the lock position. Ben Jason Dixon could also move to the lock position and then come on. And then whoever plays that number 7, whether it's Pieter-Steph or Ben Jason Dixon. I also think Ulrich Loh could potentially slot into that lock position. So it's going to be interesting to see when those guys come on, who plays which position. It's just Rassie Rasmus sort of experimenting a little bit more with the outfit. Then into the back line, and I'm going to be very honest with you, 9 and 10 is a massive surprise to me. I was saying that Grant Williams should get the start against Australia. I think he performed phenomenally well. We know how good he played for the Sharks this season. It seems like this is really his breakout season. He seems like he belongs in a Springbok top, but Rassie Rasmus has gone for Kobus Reinach in that number 9 jersey. Now, I still love Kobus. He is a phenomenal rugby player. He can slot in at 9 or wing, and I think he is starting for one reason and one reason only, and that is because Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu is starting in that number 10 position. So I think it's sort of balancing that experience. if they were going to play Grant Williams, I'm sure they would have played Handré Pollard at 10. But because they're playing such a Feinberg-Mngomezulu at 10, I think Rassie says his thinking is, let's add a little bit of experience to the back line. Let's not just throw him into deep water. Let's put Kobus Reinach in at that number 9 spot, who knows the Springbok system very, very well, has played in a couple of World Cups, to really aid and support Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu. I am extremely, extremely chuffed to see Sasha starting in that number 10 jersey. We saw him come on against Wales. He kicked that penalty. We saw him come on with sort of 3 minutes in that fly-off position for Handré Pollard in the first test against Ireland at Loftus. Then he played 77 minutes at fullback in that second test, and then came on and lit the pitch on fire in that Portuguese test match. It's also clear that Rassie Erasmus sees him as a fly-off and not necessarily as a number 15. So it's going to be interesting when Damian Willems is back, because then we could see Sasha at 10, Damian Willems at 15, and then where do you play the likes of a Handré Pollard, a Willie Leroux? Who plays that 9 position when Fafi's back? Is it Grant Williams, Sasha, and Damian? Where does Manie Libbok fit into this whole situation? So there's a lot of talking points around that fly-off position, but I love the fact that we're going to see Sasha hopefully get 60 to 70 minutes and really, really test him in that number 10 position. Then number 11 and 14, I mean, Kurtley Arendse and Cheslin Kolbe, I think that was pretty nailed on. They've been phenomenal performers for the Springboks. It is a bit unlucky for Mapimpi. I thought he had a couple of very, very good games for the Springboks, and he still looks like he's at the level to start against Australia in place of Kurtley Arendse, maybe not a Cheslin Kolbe. Then into the center pairing, and this is where a little bit more of a conversation was opened up after Lukhanyo Am's performance against Portugal, where he played in that 12 and 13 channel because Andre Esterhuizen went off with a red card. Could Lukhanyo Am fit into the Springbok side in that number 13 position, or even in that number 12 position? I think Lukhanyo Am now is sort of looked at as the swing player who can play 12 and 13 after that Portuguese test. But they've gone for the experience of Damien Delende and Jesse Kriel. Again, I think this is only because Sasha is starting at 10. Sasha needs experience around him. He's, 22, 21, 22, somewhere there. He needs experience around him, especially in these tests away in Australia where the Springboks don't have a good record. So providing him with that experience, Kobus Reinach at 9, Cheslin and Kurtley on the wings. You got the most experienced centre pairing in Springbok history, Damien Delende and Jesse Kriel, and then finishing it off with Willie Leroux at the back is really going to provide that support and that platform for Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu to do what he does best and play some really, really good rugby. So the starting 15, I think, is a very, very solid starting 15. I'm glad to see Sasha there. I'm glad to see Ulrich Loh getting a shot at that number 8 position. And I'm also quite chuffed to see Kobus Reinach back in the mix there. Let's now dive into the bench. And what we were saying in our selection, what our selection was let's experiment a little bit with some of the youngsters in this experienced Springbok outfit. And I think Rassie Erasmus has done that in the starting 15 with Ulrich Loh and Sasha. And there is a name on the replacements list that I'm very, very happy to see there. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Jan-Hendrik Wessels or Gerrit Steenkamp, but it is Gerrit Steenkamp in that number 17 jersey, getting another shot. And I'm very, very chuffed to see that because he's got Malcolm Marx and Vincent Koch alongside him. Again, kind of giving the inexperienced guys time on the pitch with very, very experienced guys next to them. It's a very, very good call. Then, we don't have any lock replacements, right? We don't have a Salman Murat or a Ruan Nokia, but Ben Jason Dixon is that swing player. He can play lock, he can play 7. So although I didn't have him in my starting 23, I think I had Salman Murat there and then Marco van Staden and Kwagga Smith. But if you're going to leave out Salman Murat, then bringing Ben Jason Dixon in is a huge call because Peter Steff can go into that lock position. Ben Jason Dixon can play 7. Then you got Marco van Staden, who will probably come on for Sia, and then Kwagga Smith to sort of play that utility Lucy. He'll probably come on for Ulrich Loh in sort of the 60th, 55th, 60th minute there. But again, he could play 6, he could play 7, depending on where Peter Steff and Ben Jason Dixon play when they come off the bench there. Then we've gone for a 6-2 split, which is no surprise at all. A lot of guys were speaking about a 5-3 split potentially with Manie Libbok on the bench. But They've gone for a 6-2 split, and there you see the two backline players, Grant Williams and Handré Pollard, which I like a lot. You cannot leave Grant Williams out. He's just in way too good a form, and he's probably going to get 30 minutes for Kobus Ranach, which I like a lot. And then again, balancing that experience, you bring Grant Williams on, and then you replace Sasha with Handré Pollard, just so that we can keep that core of experience in the Springbok side. So I think a very, very balanced, very well thought out 23 to face Australia this Saturday. As always, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you haven't, please absolutely mud that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.